It's after the preseason game. Well, it's a couple days after the preseason game. I'm still tired from the preseason game. And I think I'm more tired of just the overextension of the overhype in general about every single thing that is done in the preseason. It's not just the Giants. It's pretty much every team. Every team has their moments. Every team has their coup de grace in reference to some preseason plays. But the football in some regards just hasn't been good. You wonder at times, why the Giants don't follow the model of, like, I did a video about it. Why they don't follow the model of, like, the Texans. The Texans, of course, played C.J. Stroud. They played a lot of their starters. Good morning. We got big old Mike Lee already in the room saying good morning, all smash like button on the way in. We got big old Mike coming in saying, hey, Tim. And we got Juan saying good morning, Tim. But I did a video about how teams no longer play their starters in preseason. And I go back to when there was 4 or 5 preseason games. And I always talked about it. The first preseason game you always played when you had a 4-game schedule back in the 80s and the 90s and even in the early 2000s. Your first preseason game, you would play your starters for maybe 2-3 series. And then your second preseason game, you would play your starters pretty much into the entire first quarter. Third preseason game, you would play your starters into the half, some of your guys into the third quarter. Your fourth preseason game were your scrubs. And the guys and the Home Depot. So I love it that someone took offense to the fact that I called it the Home Depot squad. And I laugh because of the fact that they're like, well, a lot of these guys have college degrees and they're gonna go, even if they don't make it to the NFL, they're gonna go and they're gonna do this, and they're not just gonna be Home Depoters. You're just being mean. No, I'm not being mean. I'm being honest, because I think the graduation rate for a 4-year scholarship on an NCAA 1 roster is like 38%. So I mean, unless you're going to Stanford or Notre Dame or places like that, yeah, it's not a very high graduation rate. But then, like I said, the fourth game, you would just play your guys that were going to be your ancillary guys, your 51 to 53 guys, or your guys that could potentially be on your practice squad. Giants haven't done that in years. It's not just a Dable thing. The Giants haven't done that in years. But you start watching you start watching a little bit, and I watched a little bit of the Titans game. I watched some of the Texans game. I watched parts of the Minnesota Vikings game, and you're starting to see, and the Texans have done this ever since their head coach took over 2 years ago. He plays his guys. He plays his guys in the first couple series, which is smart because you're building continuity. There is a difference between, and I've said this many times before, there's a difference between playing in practice, going against the same guys that you go up against every day, even when you put on the pads and hit, because nobody hits anymore. I've seen these padded practices. Nobody hits. I go back. I've talked about the fact that I remember the two-a-days up near Troy, New York. And I remember going for the morning practice and the evening practice. And I remember actually talking to LeVar Arrington because you didn't have to have tickets. You just went and you just hung out by the fence. And it was literally, anyone that's been up there, it's literally like this 3-foot high fence, which I never understood. Literally, it's like 3 feet high. And you just stood by the fence and the players come out and you talked to the players. It was great. I mean, it was more of a fan-friendly experience. It just was in the middle of nowhere. And I remember talking to him about two-a-days. And I remember running two-a-days. And he was like, he was even like, you hate it now, but it builds you up for later. And I always harken back a couple years ago when the Chicago Bears didn't play any of their first-team guys or second-team guys the entire preseason, started the season like 0-5. They'd still make the playoffs, but they started the season like 0-5. And you have a quarterback in Daniel Jones who has been cleared to practice and has been cleared to play, but you don't put him in that first. You don't try to at least get him a series to get his feet wet a little bit. Not even saying you have to throw the ball. I don't care if you have 3 handoffs. I don't care if it's 2 yards in a cloud of dust, but you're not doing anything to build up any continuity with your offense. You didn't even play any of your offensive line starters. You played all your backup guys, and they at times did not look good. At times, the Giants quarterbacks also held on to the balls too long.
That's what she said.
But I mean, and the other thing I worry about, I'm going to get to everyone's comments. Hey, James, what's up? Great to see you on Sundays again, Tim. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. We got big old Timothy come in and say, good morning, Tim. Michael says, tell the truth. Tired of the stupid fans and the report. I am tired of Mike just wants to get me started right off the bat. I am tired of the stupid fans and reporting. I recorded every single snap of Malik Nabers, and I put one particularly on the Twitter page, and I just basically said, Malik is learning quickly that there is a difference between practice and game time in the NFL, even when you're going up against second teamers. And now every play this kid was wide open, every single play. And I love it because every single play in the stands, he's wide open, he's wide open, he's wide open. And I kept posting these videos, and I'm like, well, do you see the over-the-top safety? Do you see the fact that he's actually sitting in the middle of the zone, and there's a guy here, and a guy here? There was the one play he was streaking, but did you not see the safety coming across the top? And even Dable came out and said, Drew Lock made the right play made the right call by not throwing that ball. But every play, he is going to be the Messiah. And I get worried, and I talked about it on the video on Sunday, that he is going to reach a point where expectations is going to exceed reality. And I feel bad. And I even said I feel bad for the kid because he is going to reach a point where the first time he drops a ball, the first time he drops a pass, the first time that something happens, the first time he sulks, the first time Daniel Jones underthrows him or overthrows him, or the first time he says anything, people are going to be like, well, he's a malcontent. I've said it before. He better have, like, his first game against Minnesota, he better have 23 receptions for 648 yards, because I think in regards for some fans, it would be a failure if he didn't do something like that. Were there times that he was open? Of course, but it's also the fact that you have to look that there were times that it may look like on the television that he was open, but you have to look at the entire play. You can't just look at a moment. You have to look at the entirety. Like I said, there was one play that if they would have thrown him the ball, he probably would have been decapitated by the safety. But we don't look at that. I showed the video. I played the video. It's a guy's head got in the way, but I showed the video. I played the video that showed, okay, look, yes, he has the inside track on the wide on the DB, but look at the top over here. You got a guy, he's going like this. You got a guy coming in like this. Does you see what happens? We go like this. See what happens? They connect. I don't have to explain it to people here because you're intelligent enough, but they connect together. The only thing I did not like about his debut, Malik Nabers, was kind of his body language on the bench. And it's not a big deal, but for a guy that's in his professional debut, because I know it's only preseason, but it still technically is your professional debut. You would think you would have more. There was times that the coaching staff came over and tried to show him things. And I was right there. So, and he didn't lean in, he didn't look, he was doing this. He was leaning back. I mean, he was literally leaning back almost the entire time. Like he was lounging. And it's like, okay, I understand I understand this is just preseason, and I get it, but and there, of course, there's the great Tommy Devito. We're going to talk about Tommy Devito in a second. Oh, dear Lord. Great balls of fire. But that's the only thing I didn't really like about his debut, his body language in reference to, I love people, well, I forgot when you became a body language expert. I'm an expert on everything. Don't you know that? What do we got up here? We're going to get a couple of these questions. Miguel says, good morning, Tim. Jaden Daniels already looks better than Jones in year 6. Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy, great debuts. The Jaden Daniels first drive, but it's one drive, though, guys. It's one drive. And I'm not going to sit there and tell you that I'm going to base my entire preseason opinion on Jaden Daniels off of one drive. I'm sorry. Sorry, I can't. Same thing with J.J. McCarthy, and same thing with Drew Lock, and same thing with Tommy DeVito. The whole Drew Lock thing, though, about him not holding on to the ball too long and not throwing, he definitely did. Giant quarterbacks still haven't learned to this day you can throw the ball away. It's not a penalty. You could throw it away. Because as people will sit there and tell you they're holding on to the ball too long, it's also the fact that nobody was open. and I'm so glad that the venerable Phil Simms has now come over to the broadcast because he can now balance out Carl Banks. Because there were times where, Carl Banks was talking about, they're holding on to the ball too long and this and that and that. And Phil Simms had to explain to him, well, there's nobody open. there's nobody open downfield. So it's and also it I love Carl, but I was at the game. We got back and I immediately watched the broadcast, the rebroadcast. And I have to tell you, it with Papa and Simms, it was more enjoyable than when Carl kind of chimed in. You cringed a little bit. You were like, it's like it's Homer Carl. Here comes. Here comes. We know what time it is. We know what time it is. We know what time it is. Where I don't even know what time it is. No, see, I got nothing. It's preseason, guys. We're working out all the kinks here at preseason. Oh no, I got rid of the Carl Banks. No, I didn't.
No, you would never get rid of me.
But it was one of those things. It was a more enjoyable broadcast to watch because you were getting a different opinion, a different perspective, and it wasn't the complete homerism that you get at times with Papa and Carl Banks. I said, Carl Banks, I've said it before, will have this epiphany, say it on the air, like the time he said the Giants are officially a broken team. And then he was in the press conference. He goes, well, what I meant was, it's just things aren't going their way. It's like, no, you said it right the first time, Carl. You said it right the first time. Mr. Belford, hey, Tim, is Johnny Wishbone reporting in? Johnny, you know what, Mr. Belford, I saw your post, and I did not get to the Johnny Wishbone. Like I said, it's preseason, man. It's preseason. It's practice, man. It's practice. So I can't get overly excited about anything in practice. I'm not going to get overly excited about if someone does well. I'm not going to get overly excited if someone does poorly.
I'm Johnny Wishbone, psychic extraordinaire. If you need me, just think Johnny Wishbone, and I come running.
There you go, Mr. Belford. It's like the three-headed monster now, the running back room of Gray, Miller, Tracy. Again, you played against guys that are going to be working at Charles Schwab. Is that better for the guy that I offended because of the fact that I said Home Depoters? And they're the Charles Schwabers. They're the Schwabers. Michael says, I think the Texans are going to be really good this year. The AFC champs. I think the Texans have an opportunity or potential to go to the Super Bowl. Mike Lee says, 2 a days, full pats, full contact, 24/7. That was back in the day. Should Drew Lock avoid undergoing season-ending hip surgery if it was just a minor injury? We have to wait and see. We got to wait and see. The Giants are going to be in need of a quarterback. They're going to be in need of an arm. I am more concerned that this Drew Lock injury has reestablished the minutia known as Tommy DeVito. I mean, Tommy DeVito, I was there, guys. I mean, that's all I can tell you. I was there for this. And what was he, 9 for 15 for not even 100 yards? Took a sack. I mean, it was not a great game for Tommy DeVito. I don't know what people were seeing. I mean, and it's funny though because it was a rainy day. It's going to be one of those games that everybody was at. I was at that game really because there was like there was probably maybe 15,000-20,000 people there. I love it because one of the security guards is always there, and I always talk to her every day, every time we go to the game, and I was talking to her. It was actually funny. She's a very nice lady, and she works at the VIP entrance. And I remember the last time I went to the game with James, I told her that James was a terrorist. So I said, you need to give him some extra security because he's a terrorist. But she was expecting, they always have a count. And she was expecting like 50,000, she said. And she's like, I don't know where they're getting this number from because there's no way in hell we're getting 50,000 people here. And she was right. There was maybe, I don't know, maybe 10,000 people in the stadium, if even at that point in time. And then when it started raining, that was it. Everyone was gone. So it's gonna be one of those games that everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, Tommy DeVito looked awesome," but were you there? No, you weren't. There's a huge perspective when you're watching the game in television, and he's also playing against the Charles Schwabers. So I mean, I can't. You cannot. I'm going to say this again. You cannot. This is not a broken record. You cannot go into the season with Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, and Daniel Jones as your quarterbacks. You can't. Sorry, you just can't. It's crazy they're treating Jones like he's some sort of Hall of Famer. Well, I had to read the article about how Jones thinks he's the best quarterback in the league. And I went and looked at his stats, and I was trying to figure out how many 4,000 yard seasons does he have? How many seasons does he have 30 touchdowns and more? How many winning seasons does he have in a winning record? How many seasons has he's been healthy? I don't know. I just don't get it. James Williams in his house. Make sure you hit the like button. Big Greg coming in all the way. Oh, Big Greg, what's up? And also, yes, Penix looked good as well. Penix had some nice passes. Joe Milton, the legend of Joe Milton grows. If we have any Redskin fans out there, you got to remember the day they drafted, not even Robert Griffith Jr. and Kirk Cousins. You got to go back to Heath Schuler and Gus Frerotte. They took Heath Schuler, I forget, like third overall or something like that. Washington didn't turn out to be a kid out of Tennessee. Turned out to be a huge bust. Number 21 in Tennessee, I believe. But they also took Gus Frerotte in that same draft. And Gus outplayed Heath and had a longer career than Heath Schuler. So you never know. But he did look good. Greg, guess who's back? Back up. Greg is back. I just want to know where all the neighbors hyped. Why didn't we try to get him the ball? I don't know, man. Like I said, it was the Giant quarterbacks held on the ball too long, both DeVito and Locke. And this whole Tommy DeVito thing, listen, I don't mind arrogance. I don't mind self-confidence. I keep saying, hey, bragging. They say you're cocky, but you say, what? Ain't bragging, motherfucker, if you back it up. But Tommy DeVito got benched in New Orleans, and we never saw the field again. And he went 9 from 15 against the Home Depots. T. Brad says, just hit the like button. Drew Lock played horrible. Oh, I love it when I told people Drew Lock wasn't the answer. I love when I told people that when they first signed him. But I had to hear how we got Daniel Jones' replacement in the same draft for only $5 million. And I kept saying, does anyone besides me watch Drew Lock play? Did anyone besides me done that? We got, what do we got here? It says, Carl thanking Schoen for fixing the raw. Oh my God. I wanted him on. I wanted to get to that. And then Carl Banks thanking Joe Schoen for fixing the roster. I almost forgot about, why did you bring that up? I almost forgot about that. I tried to forget about that. What on this roster is fixed? You played all your second teamers, your third stringers, and your fourth stringers, and the guys that are going to be bagging groceries in a week. What was fixed? Because you had a good running game against the fourth teamers. So our fourth teamers are better than the fourth teamers in Detroit. And that's fixing the roster. We haven't seen the base defense play. We haven't seen the new offensive line play. We haven't seen Daniel Jones. We haven't seen Motor Singletary. We haven't seen anyone yet. But somehow, by the likes and the grace of God and Carl Banks, Joe Schoen has fixed the roster. Does he still realize we're going to be about negative 31 with the $10 million of operational cap space for Joe Schoen? Do we not figure out we haven't even got into the last? What is going to happen when we get into that last preseason? I'm looking for something. What is going to happen when we get into that last preseason game? What is going to happen? What's going to happen then? And the camp breaks. Then we'll be talking about, good morning, Mr. Online Big Blue, sir. At G-Man Film. We got the Joe Revan house. You know it's all good. Emmanuel coming in strong. Yo. Big James goes, I bet more people can recognize Joe Schoen in public over our franchise quarterback. Not really. Because I had to point out to people, that's Joe Schoen and John Mara. So I thought that was kind of funny. What's up, Tim? Every problem the Giants fans had with Odell when he was traded now embrace the same flaws and fights with Nabers. When the loss starts, fans will blame Nabers for his attitude. I said the same thing, Giants 34. You got rid of OBJ at the height of his career because of the fact that you didn't want to deal with him pissing in the end zone. You didn't want to deal with him with the French model and the Iwaki cigarette. You didn't want to deal with him marrying the net. You didn't want to deal with him with the sideline antics. One of the reasons you got people seem to forget this. And this is another reason why you should dislike Daniel Jones. You got rid of OBJ because they were afraid he was going to show up your franchise quarterback. They thought they were going to, if they went with the young guy, they're like, he's going to show him up. Not he's going to help him. He's going to show him up. Sup, Tim? It's going to be a long season. Yeah, I think so too. David said, Giants fans have the memories of goldfish and forget how easily Devito was shut down. He went 9 for 15. He literally went 9 for 15. And somehow he had this awesome game. And then I love it because then you had the likes of Kappa, we'll call him Kappa Idiot. Because he sent me a tweet, Kappizzle. He sent me a tweet yesterday. He says, well, it looks like your boy Malik Willis isn't going to make the team for the Titans. I was like, yes, okay, so if he does, he doesn't. But if that's all you got on me, that's fine. I'm okay with that. And I thought to myself, before he sent an idiotic tweet, I don't think he actually watched the game because Malik only had like 4 series, had 42 yards rushing. He had 1 sack. He was 5 for 7 for 38. He did take that 1 sack. He got the team in for the game-winning field goal, even though the likes of Mason Rudolph had a better game statistically. Also, Malik had, if you watched the game, physically watched the game on a bad penalty, had a 45-yard beautiful bomb called back by a offensive procedural penalty. So his numbers then would have looked like he would have looked like 6 for 8 for 90 yards and then another 42 yards rushing. I'm gonna give you a hint, guys, and this is the cop because I think that round thing that square thing, that you have in your house. Maybe you have a round one. That's called a television. You can watch games on it. It's really cool. You go to NFL Plus. You can watch all the preseason games. You don't just watch highlights. You can watch I watch all the games. I don't watch highlights. I watch the games. Sometimes I have 4 games on at once. People should try it. Certain people should try it. David says all the agents who look like he is dressed in a Halloween costume still there at the game means his antics just continue. Distractions, no need. Yeah, that's true. Good morning, Tim. Good morning, OBB family. Malik Willis also didn't look too bad. No, Green. We just got to that. He didn't look bad at all. And like I said, you add in that 45-yard bomb, which was a beautiful pass. He's got 90 plus yards, 65% of his passes, and another 45 yards rushing, and that 28-yard run was great. It's just the fact that he came in against the end. He came at the end of the game. Time for Tommy Cutlets. Jones sucks worse. It's not saying much. T-Brad says, we have bad QB play for so long that average play looks like us. I wonder if that's the truth. I really do wonder if that's true. We've had such mediocre to bad quarterback play, even going back to Eli Manning's final couple of years, that if you have something that looks average, and Tommy DeVito didn't even look average, but if you have something that looks average and you've seen nothing but shitty play for even in the big season, even the big playoff season, 7-2, 2-5-1. It's a dichotomy of 2 parts of the season. And your quarterback only threw for 3,000 yards and 15 touchdowns. But somehow that is this great season. And then I was looking at another quarterback going back to the 19 draft. This one guy had 3,089 yards, 20 touchdowns. Next season, complete almost 70% of his passes, 4,544 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Next year, 63% for 4,400 yards and 36 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. Next year, he had 65% for 4,283 with 35 and 14. And then last year, he had 4,306 yards for 29 and 18. So this guy averaged 4,100 yards and 31 touchdowns since 19. But somehow Daniel Jones is on his same level because that's Josh Allen. And somehow, and the idiocy of, well, the Daniel Jones deal doesn't look so bad now. Well, guys, you're going to be cutting. Hope so. Hope you think that, because he's going to be back next year, because you're cutting that deal before camp breaks and pushing cap money again for Jones into that 2025 season. It's the only way you're going to get another salary cap and have your $10 million of operational cap space. It's the only way. So I hope you're enjoying it. Made by the Giants says, oh, we've seen Daniel Jones for sure. Jake Zings. Okay, Tim, Eric DeGray is going to replace Saquon. Oh my God. You heard that. Look at that. Does anyone remember Platzengummer? What's his name? Platzengummer, or whatever his name was. He was the guy that came over he was part of the NFL Europe exchange program. Last game of the season, last preseason game, he had like a 46-yard run. And I think it was Chris that was like, he's gonna make the team. Make the bad man stop. Gettleman's voice. I fixed the roster. David says, out of all three quarterbacks, we have Daniel Jones has the highest ceiling, which is very sad. Yes, it is. And you are hoping that some people are hoping that Daniel Jones plays poor enough that you actually get a quarterback. He's going to be back year 7 either way, guys. I'm sorry. Just you want to say what you want to say. It's this weird pendulum that we have with Daniel Jones. It's 1 minute, he's the greatest quarterback ever. He sucks. He's the greatest quarterback ever. He sucks. He's the greatest quarterback ever. He sucks. We shouldn't have drafted him. We sucks. People just, you got to say one thing. I don't turn on a player until I see the full body of work. And the problem is, I've seen Daniel Jones for 5 years. I've seen the body of work. You're not all of a sudden going to have this Herculean turnaround because of the fact that you were going into year 6. Most people at this point in time, when you're getting to year 6 and 7, you're not getting to the twilight of your career, but you're getting into the peak of your career. And when he comes in, if he does finally play, and he plays against, and he plays against the third teamers, like I said, I always think of Major League too.
Willie's really got some power. Off a guy will be bagging groceries in a couple weeks.
That's what it's going to be. And then we're going to get into the real season. We're going to get up against real defenses, and then he's going to fold like a cheap tent. You can book it. I think it was at 10 o'clock, 10:28 a.m. You can book it. I'm watching preseason games and seeing that most teams have 3 quarterbacks better than Daniel Jones. Perhaps the medical clause. Oh, no medical clause. No medical clause because we don't have to pay that even more of that contract. Could Jersey Shore Tommy really start over Jones? I'd love to see that, but I'm not sure Mara would ever let that happen, though. I think Mara would let it happen. I would hope to God that we don't, because of the fact that he went 9 for 15 for not even 100 yards against the Home Depoters and played the majority of the game after Drew Lock's injury. The Giants' offense outside the running game was putrid. We scored 14 points. There was nothing in the second half. It was bad. I don't know what I was bragging about. I saw 14 points. I saw 14 points in that game. In the pouring rain at times. I don't know what people were looking at, that the roster. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Carl Banks. What are people talking about that the roster was fixed? First downs. Lions had 15. We had 14. Third down efficiency. Lions 5 for 17. We were 2 for 11. Total plays 67 total plays to 56. Total offense Total yards, 228 for the Lions, 250 for the Giants. Average yard per play, Lions 3.4, Giants 4.6. Passing, Lions 110 yards, Giants 95. Rushing, the we still had 118 for the Lions for 155 for the Giants. Penalties, the Giants had 10 for 102 yards. Giants also had a fumble and a turnover. Time of possession, Detroit Lions 31 minutes 49 seconds, Giants 28 minutes and 11 seconds. What am I missing? What am I missing there, guys? Can someone explain to me what I was missing? Because I'm still trying. I am literally still trying to figure out where this outside of two running plays, the Giants offense was putrid. But we got all of our yards on two running plays, but that's it. That's where we're showcasing. You take away the two Eric Gray runs, what's our running percentage? So if we take away the two Eric Gray runs, let's just do that. So instead, we would rush the ball for 25 times for 155. So we would have had like 25 rushes for like 87 yards. I was there, guys. I was there. There's me. I posted this picture and said, me and all my friends. But we have to look at, but we don't look at that. Team Jones fan base loves to talk about the 2022 season, the breakout year of Daniel Jones. Can check his stats, 26, 27th in the league, passing. Oh, T-Brad. Where's my link? Where's the link? Where's T-Brad and James and all the regulars? There you go, guys. I miss everyone. Matthew says, good morning, James. He's saying hello to James. Got rid of Golden Tate for asking for the damn ball. Golden Tate wasn't that great anymore. But yeah, it's true. Is there practice today? I don't know if there's practice today, to be honest. I'm going to go out and do things today. Made by the Giants says, it is insane that people actually blame Nabers before trash the quarterback that's been here year 6. I don't blame Nabers for anything yet. I'm just saying that there is potential to be unrealistic expectations on Malik that can be a hindrance for him in the long run during this season. I'm not saying his entire career, but during this season, because like I said, if Daniel Jones underthrows him, you're going to have a segment of the ball. You're going to have a segment of the fan base saying, well, Malik should have came back from the ball. If he overthrows him, you're going to have a segment of the fan base that's going to say, well, he needed to stretch out more for that pass. If he drops a pass, it's gonna be bad. It's not gonna look good. It's good. And like I said, this kid, I'm not saying he's got an attitude. I'm just saying that he is a 2024 athlete. I'm not proclaiming him a diva wide receiver, but I'm saying he is this. He is a kid that is coming in here with high expectations, not only from the fan base, but from himself. And if he does not achieve those because of errant throws from the quarterback, there will be a segment of the fan base that is going to blame him, the wide receiver. And you have to wonder at times if he is, you have to hope that he is going to have the mental fortitude. And like someone said earlier, everything that annoyed the Giants organization in reference to the antics of OBJ are already coming in season 1 before this kid's already taken the field. That's not a bad thing. Like I said, I could deal with the antics. You put up 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. I'll do it. You want to go piss in the end zone? Go ahead. I don't have a problem. But there is going to be a segment of the fan base that is so beyond loyal. No, I can't talk to their loyalty towards their quarterback that I have a feeling that they will turn on this wide receiver quickly. Who's texting me? Stop texting me, people. I'm working here. James says, do you think that the same fans actually think the Shane is similar in 2011 when we won a Super Bowl? I hope not, because it's unrealistic expectations. Take away the 2 Eric Gray runs. Look at our entire stats. Yeah, it was raining. I was there. I was there for that fiasco. And it wasn't that great of a game to go along with it. I was even telling James, I said it was mainly garbage time. Our O-line was terrible. That's why Drew Lock got hurt, because he extended the plays to look a little better than Devito, because he was moving around the pocket, extending the plays with his legs, same as last year. I'm going to give you half of that. Drew Lock had to get rid of the ball. Phil Simms said on the broadcast, it's okay. You can get rid of the Giants. When the Giants are holding on the ball too long, he's got to get rid of the ball. And especially in those situations, because you they always say you live to fight another down. Try not to get negative. Try not to get negative. This is what I always heard. Going back to Pop Warner. Never played offense, but this is what I always heard from the offense. Try not to get, it's simple. You try not to get negative yards. You don't want to have negative plays. You take the Barry Sanders factor out of it, who had more negative yards run than anyone in NFL history, but he also had some of the greatest runs that you've ever seen. Extending the plays, and if it causes a negative yard, is a detriment to your team because you still have another down. It is easier to be 2nd and 8 than it is to be 2nd and 15. And so the philosophy should be get rid of the ball, throw it out of bounds. But he did. He tried to extend the plays. And honestly, like I said, I showed the videos. There was a lot of times that he was running for his life and people weren't open. Let's see. Mr. Authentic says that throw that Malik had was called back, was one of the best throws all week. 25 yards, freaking rope. Yeah, it's 45-yard play, I think, in total. But it was a beautiful play. It was a great play. And like I said, you add that into the factor of his stats and what he would have done. He would have had almost 100-yard passing, and I think he had another 40-something yards rushing. He had that beautiful 28-yard run. And also the fact that he came in with 9 minutes. I think it was less than 9 minutes left in the third quarter. So, but what are people going to say? Will should be improvement at the quarterback room. I don't think you do. I don't honestly at this point in time with the Giants, unless you're going to say you're scrapping the whole thing, you can't bring in someone like Malik. You can't. Unless you're saying we're going to scrap this and rip this down. You can't, because he, like I said, the day he was in the draft, I said he is going to have to sit an entire year. You can't play him right away. I always said that, but people always seem to forget I said that he would have to sit an entire year because he's not ready. He probably wouldn't show anything to the end of year 2, year 3. He has the talent. He just needs to maturate the talent. So the Giants don't have time to build up into that. What do we say? We got Blaze and Timmer. Good morning, Big Blue family. Rankley says, right now, an average quarterback play is equivalent to Ritz crackers. I like Ritz crackers. Kevin says, what's up? Peace, Tim. What's going on? J-Fad, so Swills look good against the Home Depots. He did. You're right. 100%. So what's your point? There's a point there, right? Willis played against second teamers, not the third stringers. No, actually, David is right. He did play against mostly the second teamers. I was very, like I said, it's really been a weird preseason, because like I said, we did the video, I think it was a couple days ago, that talked about the Giants should play some of their starters. And you see the better teams this year again. Texans did it last year. They're playing their starters into the first quarter. I mean, I think Will Levis almost played the entire first quarter. And like I said, I was, you get CJ Stroud in there. You had a lot of other guys in there. You're like, okay, well, because you have to understand, you always have the fear of injury. That's always there. And I've always said it a million times. The biggest thing, or the biggest issue you can have in fear of injury is if you go out there with that fear, more than likely bad things will happen. Because I've said the story before. I had an ACL tear, and the next year I tore my ACL, and I had a tear in my meniscus, my mid meniscus, and part of my medial collateral ligament. When then they took my patella tendon and made my ACL, and it was almost exactly a year from the date that I tore it the first time. And I'll never say I had the fear. because I think both of them were just freak injuries. But there are some players that come back from these types of injuries that have that fear, which causes other injuries to happen. I personally think, and I've said this before, that Daniel Jones should never have been in the Raiders game because I don't think he was ever fully confident in his neck before he came back from that game, before he came back into the game, which to me led to the ACL. And I also think that if you go back into history, we've talked about this before, players who tear their ACL and they come back within the first to second year, not a high percentage, but a percentage of them then end up tearing their Achilles tendon. Because Achilles tendon tear is not a turf injury. We've talked about this before. It's a repetitive stress injury on the tendon. A lot of times you get the running backs, the wide receivers, and the corners that get these injuries because the fact that you're constantly pushing off on that tendon. So the whole Aaron Rodgers thing had nothing to do with the turf monster. It just is a repetitive stress injury of being in the league for 20 years. But a lot of times what will happen is you'll see a guy come back from an ACL tear, and then a year or a year and a half later, they tear their Achilles. And I always go by the theory, it's because they have adjusted their running style, or they've made an adjustment to almost compensate for that injury, which then leads to the second injury. We got the big old sticker. I see it from Big Old Don. What's up, Big Don? Thank you for the super sticker. I always like putting up the big super stickers on the Big Don. Don probably out there working hard as always today. I want to know what love is. Now I forgot where I was. Oh, my God. No, I went too far. Sorry.
That's what she said.
It's preseason, guys. It's preseason. Big Mark. What's up, Big Mark? Big Mark is over there. All I know is the Giants covered the spread, and I won the bet. Well, it's the little things in life. James Time says, we're going to be bad this year. Our insurance quarterback heard Tommy DeVito will be back up at the end of the story. We should have drafted a quarterback, but Merritt doubled down on Jones. We are screwed. I don't think it was Merritt that doubled down on Jones. I still think a lot of it was, if you watch Hard Knocks, I think it was Joe Schoen. I think Joe Schoen has this unwavering, almost stupid belief in Daniel Jones that he hasn't shown anything, to the fact that his head coach, when he asked his head coach, would you trade, so you're in agreement that we should, if we could, we should trade it for Jaden Daniels. He was like, yes, please. And then I still go back to the scene in Hard Knocks when Joe Schoen goes to Brian Dable. They're looking at the big board. You could have any player in the league. You could have any position. You can have anything. What would you want? Dable doesn't even blink. Offensive lineman. What about Brian Burns? that was just like, sometimes you have your head coach and your GM on the same page. Watched some of that. It was like Joe Schoen knows what he's going to do, good, bad, or indifferent, and he's not allowing anyone else. He's asking for your opinion, but he doesn't really want it. I feel bad for Brandon Brown. I want your opinion, but don't give it to me because I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyways. I still love the negotiation for Drake May. Still love that. So the guy's already told you he wants 3 number ones. So a 1 this year and a 1 next year is not going to do it. Oh, well, I tried. Damn. It's like, oh, dear Lord. I felt like we were trapped in a bad Tyler Perry movie. We are stuck in the abusive relationship you can't get out of. Tyler Perry, I think he's an underrated filmmaker. He makes the same movies over and over again, but I think he's still underrated. Windplug says, is Danny going to have a whole 10 years to prove himself? You have to have 10 years to prove yourself. That's what I saw. You were there, Mark. I saw you were there. And did you say hello? No. I saw you were there. I was sitting in the stands all by myself. Well, the family was there, but I was sitting in the stands all by myself. I really enjoyed going back to the stadium on Thursday. I really did. And I was telling my wife, it's literally like a homecoming. Because you see people you haven't seen in close to a year. From my favorite bartenders, from the ladies at the food services place to the people that run the gate, and they're always the same people, and it's great. To the gentleman, the security on the field, it's great. I mean, it's literally like old home week. And I love my one bartender because he goes, he's like, "You're looking good, man. Look like I got $1 million this year." And I told his counterpart, I said, I like going to him because he lies. So, but it was fun. I really had an enjoyable time. Oh, we got the big old pimp named back with a big old super chat coming in. So Tim, long time no see. I was gonna say I missed you, brother. Where have you been? I just now watching Hard Knocks. Joe Schoen already sealed his fate. The guy is delusional. Couldn't have any tears and tears. And it was I was missing out on Jay and Daniels and Drake May. Yeah, I mean, the first episode of the Bears Hard Knocks was so different than the Giants Hard Knocks that I kind of laughed because I was like, wow, this is kind of what we are as a franchise. And this is what we want to be. Because you want to know why? It's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life for us. Instead of quarterbacks, we get crap. What's up, Big James?
What's up, brother?
I have that shirt.
You do? This is a dope one. This is a pretty good one.
Did you get that at Walmart?
I don't know. I don't know where she got this.
I have that shirt. I have that shirt on the floor somewhere. I got it.
Did you get this? She probably did. She loves Target.
I said Walmart.
Oh, Walmart. Sorry. Oh, the other.
What are you listening like Daniel Jones?
Oh, hold up. Hold up. The Old Navy. Just got Old Navy. That's where she got it from.
Old Navy. So you brought up a Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah.
Why you dissing Tyler Perry, man?
Because my other half watched his newest movie and it just reminded me of us.
Are you not watching his WB series as well that he has, all the series he has going on?
He has a lot of stuff going on. I can't keep track of it all. I think
he's on OWN. I think he's on the Oprah network.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But his latest movie called Divorcing the Black.
Oh my gosh. And then he tries to do a movie like Alex Cross, which is based off a novel. And
based on book series.
Book series, not a bad movie, not a bad movie, not a great movie, but not a bad movie. But he's got to stick in his whatever the name of the character he plays, the woman.
There's a part in the movie where he's calling. He's like, we need backup. We need everybody. And I swear to God, if you watch it and close your eyes, it's like, oh, that's Medea right there. That's not Alex Cross. That's Medea.
That's Medea. You're right. That's Medea. You almost want to hold in the glasses. You're right.
And I was like, that's not Alex Cross. That sounded like Medea right there.
For those that just tuned in, this is the Black Cinema Hour.
Yeah, I don't know how we got. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know how we got.
I'm not sure how we went down that road. I love to play this. Tyler Perry is not underrated. He's just rated yuck. Let's see. One office has been even Russell Wilson wanted to come here, and they didn't even blink. We're talking about, of course, the remainder of Hard Knocks. But let's talk about the Giants game on Thursday because you got a chance to watch it with some friends.
I did. We did.
I always say, I watched it with all my friends that were there.
That was so funny. There's nobody there.
But I mean, what was your thought process of the game in its totality?
Positives first, always. I thought the defense.
Positivity.
I thought the defense looked good. I thought that, for what it was, and I know they weren't like going against golf the whole game and all that. And I know later on there was a lot of second stringers and guys who probably just trying to make the team. But I liked their activity. Okay. I thought guys were I thought the tackling, because again, this is football. This is basics. It's first preseason. You want to see things like hustle, tackling, proper tackling. Going to the ball like piranha. I thought they were doing that. For the most part, for a first preseason game. That was the thing I took away the most, was that I thought the guys on defense, no matter what level or string they were on, I thought they were all flying to the ball, so to speak, somewhat. So I did enjoy that.
You know what I thought about interesting, because you bring up tackling, and there's the new hip drop tackle rule.
Oh God,
which literally no one can figure out, because
I don't understand.
If you basically read, and we've read the NFL verbiage on this team, if you read the NFL verbiage, it's basically you're outlawing all tackling. And I laugh because there was a couple plays that I'm like, well, that would then technically, by the rules, be a hip drop tackle. And I didn't see them call anything in reference to that. But one of the other new rules that I thought was interesting to this day is this fucking kickoff.
Oh my God.
This fucking kickoff thing. I mean, this is just, if I felt bad because I had to dust off my best sundress before I went out and watched the game, because I didn't play the game. And I'm looking at this going, so this is supposed to enhance and there was a safety called in the Jacksonville Jaguar game because of this wonderful rule. But this was supposed to increase the excitement of the kickoff, but limit injuries. And I laugh because I don't laugh because it's not funny, but I saw a couple injuries on the kickoff. And then
it's football. People are going to get hurt.
There was, I believe, 2 kickoff penalties during the Giant game. Do you see this? And then they have also which they're not going to have in the season, but they have the virtual chains.
I saw that. I did.
From tennis to have virtual chains, so to make it more accurate. Because if anyone that watches tennis, I don't really watch tennis, but I do know there was a couple times over the last couple of years that there was some bad calls because of the virtual eye, not counting serves in when they were in and saying that they were out. So they're going with all these new innovative ideas.
I mean,
explain.
I have to say,
explain the kickoff to me.
Well, like you said, I think they implemented it to try to lower injuries in a sport that people are just going to get hurt, unfortunately. And I heard somebody say they want to bring excitement back.
That's what
I don't understand. I don't understand how a shorter kickoff is going to bring excitement back. They wanted to have more returns because of the way it was. The kickers, they were just booting it. It was too many touchbacks, so you weren't having as much return. I don't know. All I know is that feeling when before a game starts and the crowd is roaring and you can see the pictures flashing in the crowd and you're sitting there with your drink and your boys and that ball kicks off and it goes and you're sitting there go like, here we go. That excitement is gone.
No, it's not. That's
for me anyway.
That's
because you're kicking it like 30, 20 yards, 30 yards. I don't even. It looks so weird. It just looks weird. And I'm 41. I've been watching football for 30 plus years. And a lot of the things, it just feels weird. It looks weird. And then when they did the thing with the virtual chain, they had the line and they had the ball. And it was like right here. It was like, oh, well, he's short. You can see it right there on the virtual. And I'm like, damn, we've gotten to the point where computers and AI are taking over football now.
My question with that, there are times in the NFL that you have a first down by a chain link. And I know they're not using this virtual system in games this year, but you'll have a first down by a chain link. And a chain link is literally about half an inch. That's why they say it's 4th in inches. But the kickoff. Every time I see the kickoff, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll pick you up a sundress and a parasol, and you can just on the Times Square.
That's what I think of. Now the kid from Washington had some nice returns. I saw that. on this wonderful kickoff thing, but I'm just hold on. Let's get some comment. Mike Lee says DJ will get a third contract because we know what DJ is. We don't know what he is. Matthew says because we've had everyone threaten the golden boy who hasn't proved anything in 5 years, he needs every opportunity, and I mean every opportunity. We're talking about that in a second. Matthew says, and Phil Simms is reincarnated after all. I talked how I enjoyed Phil Simms on the broadcast, how I came home to watch the game that I just watched live, and I heard Phil Simms. And I was talking to you yesterday or the day before, and I said I didn't know Phil Simms was doing, but evidently he signed on to FS1 or NY1 or whatever it is, so he's going to do the games. It brought a nice feel to the broadcast. I didn't cringe. It's funny. I didn't cringe much as watching Carl Banks. I didn't, and even Phil had to check Carl's fandom a little bit on some of his. You and I were talking about this, some of his comments when he's like, "Go ahead, why don't you give it? You gave me a great example yesterday."
Well, having Phil on there, number one, I think that's going to be a great addition to the team. Grew up listening to Bob Papa on the radio, but the last year especially, they got a little too just fandom-y. I know that's not a word, but Phil during the during the broadcast, because again, our new weapon did not catch a pass. Like the run game had a couple good plays, but the pass picture. And Phil goes, he goes, part of the problem is, I get it's preseason, it's early, guys are still figuring stuff out, but the quarterbacks, they're not letting it go. They're holding on to the ball too long. These guys, like their reactions have got to be faster. And then Carl immediately goes, well, the receivers are not really getting open either, Phil. You got to count that in. And Phil's kind of like, yeah, I understand that, but still, as a quarterback, you've got to get rid of the ball. And it was just so like, it was like boom, boom, boom. Like Carl did his thing and Phil came right back. Yeah, I get all that, but I actually played quarterback. So, yeah, I got it.
I was actually there. I was actually,
so it was good to hear just not that they were arguing, but hey, you have one look of what you're seeing. I actually played the position, so I have another viewpoint. And I think if having Phil on there, we're going to get a couple moments when I'm pretty sure, excuse me, that Phil is going to be seeing things. And if he calls games the way he did on the other night, then we're in for a good season because he's just going to call stuff as he sees it.
Yeah.
For what it sounds like. And that's what we need. Just call it like you see it.
And I like that. And I've always I know some people got tired of Phil Simms when he was on NBC and CBS and he got replaced by Tony Romo and all that. But I always thought Phil had a good perspective, not only from the quarterback room, but just from the offensive philosophy of teams. And like I said, it was nice to hear on the broadcast because it was almost like a point. I was like, when Carl Banks was talking, I'd be like, shut up, Carl. I don't want to hear you talk. I want to hear Phil, Tim. I want to hear Phil. I want to hear an actual perspective. To your point, I don't want the homerisms.
Right. And it's interesting because Phil and Chris, his son, not too long ago, they did like a podcast interview with Daniel Jones.
Right.
So, and Phil, he's one of us. He's a Giant, Big Blue forever. So, he's a fan of the Giants. He's going to root for Daniel Jones, as he should, as we all do and should. But as we also should, just like Phil seems like he's going to do, he's going to call it if Daniel or Drew or the quarterback, whoever it is not playing up to the level that we should see. And we need that. We're going into year 6.
To Matthew's point, although he's never passed for 3,200 yards, they give him the benefit of the doubt in 8 to 10 more years. T. Brad saying, what did I miss? You missed everything, T. Matthew says, I wonder what the rest of the league thinks of our management. I don't know. Jersey Beaner says, Tim, you watch game with your friends of guests and services, buddies. Oh, I love, like I said, I love going to the games because it was such I don't know if James, if you remember the bald-headed bartender that's always on the corner of the bar in the coaches club. He's always there, and I love talking.
Oh, yeah. The people that work there are very nice. Let me just say that. I don't go as much as Tim, but the guys are and the women are very nice.
Security guard who was a former NYPD detective, the older gentleman that's been there forever. I got the chance to chat with him. It's always just a great experience. And like I said, I do love the story when I told my friend, the security guard, that you were a terrorist and you needed extra screening. So,
it's like, I look like a terrorist.
I will still crack up because I'm standing there. James is late as always, and the gate for the suites are right where the train comes off. And I saw James, and I'm on the other side of the gate, and I see James coming. I'm literally waving at him, yelling at him. He's not even looking. He's doing, he's doing the cool James, So, not even looking. He gets to he's the next person to go through the screening, and that's what I yelled at the top of my lungs to my friend. I said, give him extra screening, he looks like a terrorist. And James finally looked up, but you gave me this look like, who the fuck are, and then you're like, oh, it's Tim.
I'm telling you, I remember, because I'm like, who the hell is trying? Oh, it's my brother. Never mind. Yes, I'm a terrorist.
That's who it was. Blaze says, so my family and I went to the Commanders preseason game yesterday, which was at noon, which I thought was a weird time.
It was.
Better Joe at GM. Blazin says, hey, this kickoff better than no kickoff, which is true.
That's funny.
I mean, if you literally think about it, James, it is better than not having a kickoff at all. James, the other James says the rest of the leagues are management. It's just plain stupid to say that at least because we can't build a team for crap. Just a sad story to say the least. OGR Sports. I laughed. Lex Luthor. He was on the show on Sunday, and we were talking about the salary cap. And I keep pontificating my salary cap numbers, but again, nobody's listening. Nobody listened 2 years ago or 3 years ago when I said we weren't going to have enough money to fill a 53-man roster. In 2 games we couldn't, or whenever I do my numbers. But I love it because Lex goes to me he went on the stream the other day. He goes, I may disagree with you on everything, which I always find interesting, which is I never have a problem with. He goes, but I will never disagree with you on the salary cap because he goes, you have been scary right for 5 years. And I keep telling people that Jones contract is going to be renegotiated and more money is going to be pushed out into 2025. And I think about what James just said. I don't think the league thinks we're stupid. I think the league thinks we just keep triple downing on bad ideas. And Shane, who is in year 3, yes, he came into a bad salary cap situation, but it hasn't gotten any better. And James, I can't figure. I'm going to pull up my little spreadsheet. I can't figure it out. I literally cannot figure out what he is doing in reference to the salary cap, because everyone will sit there and tell me, well, if you take a look at the cap space, we have $8 million in available cap space, which is like 27th in the league or 25th in the league. I don't remember. But that's with the rule of 51. And then I know I keep talking about this. We have $20-something million in dead cap space. If camp was to break right now, depending on who made the team, we will be between negative $25 and $28 million without $10 million in operational cap space. So we could be anywhere between negative $35 and $38 million, depending on who makes this team the moment that camp breaks. So that means there are contracts that have to be renegotiated, and we already did the Dexter Lawrence deal. So you're going to do the Andrew Thomas deal. You're probably not going to ask Brian Burns. You've already done Lawrence. You're not going to get much out of Okereke. You're not going to get much out of Thibodeau. You're going to probably have to either release Slayton or renegotiate parts of Graham Gano. And that's it. And the only other contract that you can touch is a $47 million cap hit, which is 18.5% of your entire cap space, with a dead cap number of almost $70 million. And that's Daniel Jones's deal.
It's crazy.
Which means and I keep trying to explain to people, which means he is going to be here in 2025, because you already have a $20-something million dead cap number in 2025, and he's already counting for $41 million of your cap space next year. So you're probably, even if you convert a portion of his money to bonus money, because you're only allowed to convert a certain amount, because that becomes guaranteed money, but it's only can be a certain amount of money. You're still going to have, like we did last year, you're still going to have to kick the can down to 2025, so that $25 million dead cap number is probably going to be more like $35 million. So you're not going to dump him, even if he has a bad season, with a $35 million dead cap number. And all I keep thinking about over and over again, James, is what is Shane do? I love it because they barely touched the cap on Hard Knocks. They barely even talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
What is Shane thinking with the talent that he has on the roster compared to the contract? We've always talked about contract value, contract and positional value. What is he looking at?
I think that he is the GM, and I think he wanted to make his big splash. And he's going into year 3, and I'm trying to get in his brain. And I'm not saying that this is a smart move, but I'm trying to get in his brain. I think he wanted to, because if you look at our team, right, all of our top players were Gettleman guys. Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence, McKinney, Saquon. Obviously, the last 2 are gone. Even Jones did help us win a playoff game, right? And Jones is still here. They re-signed him. So you kept the quarterback that the former regime picked. You kept him. You didn't move on from him when you could have. So our top players are Gettleman guys. The GM going into year 3, he probably wanted to put his handprint on this team. Because as much as people hype up the year, a couple of years ago, we won the playoff game, those were Gettleman dudes. The Shane really didn't have too much to do with that.
Not to interrupt you, you know what everyone also forgets?
What?
Who signed Graham Gano?
That was the old man, right?
That was Gettleman.
Wasn't. Yeah, right. I was saying it was the OG. It wasn't Joe. So again, our 2 of our greatest offensive weapons, Gano and Saquon, were from the prior regime, and I forgot that as well. I forgot about Double G Graham Gano. But if you watch the Hard Knocks, which we all did,
Joe gave him a contract.
Right. He just extended guys that Gettleman brought in. That's really all he did. And if you watch the Hard Knocks, which we all did, Joe is so hype about his Brian Burns. Like he is so excited about his Brian Burns pickup. And I get it. Pass rushers, it's a big headline. We got one of the best pass rushers. We're going to put him with Casper, and we're going to have a great connection and all that. But like I think we said last Sunday, if you took the Burns money, you probably could have kept McKinney and Saquon.
No, you could have.
You would definitely. I agree with Swifty, aka Lex, who I love, so I call him that out of love. But you are, out of all of the people on YouTube and social media, you are the best at the cap. I don't even see people really talking about the cap as much as just trying to grab headlines. So you've taught me about certain things that I didn't really pay attention to before, and I'm sure other people could say the same. So when it comes to this cap thing, I agree with, like, you are on the ball. But with our GM, I don't know. Like, we're going into year 3 of Joe Schoen. What is our identity? Are we a defensive team? Are we an offensive team? Are we pass happy, run? Do we blitz? Do we play cover? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, So it's like, to sum it up, I don't know, other than trying to make his first big headline with the Brian Burns move. Because during the thing, like you said yourself, he asked the head coach, what position or what kind of player would you want to bring in if you got anybody, any position, any? And he says offensive lineman, and he goes, yeah. And he goes, what about Brian Burns? That guy's good. That guy's good. And again, I'm gonna say this last thing. I'll throw it back to my brother. The Brian Burns deal was initiated by Dan Morgan from the Carolina Panthers. That wasn't even a move that Shane went to him about. Dan went to Joe about, and then Joe went, ooh. I can remember hearing the clip now. He's like, ooh, I think Dan wants to do something. And then Dan tried to still fleece him at the end and be like, well, you could throw in another round pick. So it was a very weird thing because his claim to fame so far is just re-signing and extending Gettleman guys. And then the Brian Burns deal.
And letting go McKinney and Saquon Barkley.
And letting go McKinney and Saquon. And I will give him credit for Banks so far. That looks like a good pick. But most of his moves really haven't been splash-worthy until the Brian Burns. So I think he was just trying to do something where it was like, yeah, this is my guy. This is my move. I did this. I made this happen. Yeah. But I don't know if that was a better move than keeping the two guys that were homegrown in McKinney and Saquon. I mean, usually two is better than one. So if you could keep a guy on defense and a guy on offense, that's usually better to me than just going out and getting a big splash of a guy that we hope he comes here and does what he did in Carolina. But again, and I know other people out here know about him, I watch a lot of football, and I did not really hear Brian Burns' name being mentioned like with the Bosas and the other elite pass rushers in the league. Now, maybe I missed it. I'm not perfect, but
we talked about it before. The day they gave him the contract, they gave Burns the contract, was on NFL Network, and it wasn't me. And I quoted this before. They said same thing I've said, that compensation wise, great move by the Giants. You got who could potentially be a premier pass rusher that you are going to pair up with Kayvon Thibodeau, but you gave an 8-sack guy $140 million.
That's a lot of money, and a guy who doesn't really play the run that well.
Doesn't play. Neither does
From what
I've been saying over and over again, they're carbon copies.
It's very peculiar. I mean, even if the guy comes and balls out, that's great. But it's like you spent a lot of money on one guy when we could have kept two guys that we all loved, and they're homegrown. That's the one thing about the Burns thing that bothers me is like when, as a GM, as a football team, you want your draft picks to hit. You want them to hit. We hit. Aside from the injury history with Saquon, but we hit. He's a great running back. Xavier McKinney was a great addition, great defensive player. Played all year for us, and then you let those guys go. One of them to a division rival, and then you bring in this other guy where the GM over there is your best friend. I almost feel like that was a move where, hey, you help me out. You take this guy off my hands, and I'll help you out somewhere down the line. That's what I kind of feel like in a weird way.
I still love the fact that you take a look at that deal, and we're not even getting that deal, but let's just real quickly Joe Schoen players right now. If you look at it, it's Beavers, McKeithen, Davison, McFadden, Belton, Bellinger, Flott, Azuda, Robinson, Neal, Thibodeau, Owens, Riley, Hawkins, Gray, Hyatt, Michael Schmitz, and Banks. Those are the guys that I'm not going to get into the new class. I mean,
right.
Banks is a hit. We're still waiting to see on John Michael Schmidt. I mean, we don't know what he is going to be because of the fact that he's injured again. Hyatt, we're still waiting on. Eric Gray, who had 2 good runs in preseason, but he had 4.
Eric the Gray.
I love how people are talking about Hawkins as being the starting CB2. Jordan Riley is an afterthought. Owens is an afterthought. Kayvon Thibodeau, you're hoping he does something in year 3. He's got 15 sacks over 2 seasons. Evan Neal looks like he's going down that bust route. Robinson was a guy you drafted as redundancy for Kadarius Toney. Azuda looks like he's garbage. Flott looks like he's just, I don't know what people see in Cordell Flott.
Flott is Flott. Flott is Flott.
Bellinger is Kevin Boss. Dane Belton. I'm so sick of freaking Dane Belton.
You love Dane Belton.
Starting the fights. At times, and it's like you are a garbage player. You had 2 interceptions gifted to you, but nobody talks about the 5 consecutive passing touchdowns you were the trailer on after those 2 gifted interceptions, or the fact that you got benched 2 years ago in the Texans game and didn't even see the field until everyone got hurt. McFadden, we hope is going to be a player, but he also had the highest missed tackle percentage for his position. D.V. Davidson, hopefully he's a backup. McKeithen looks like garbage, and Darren Beavers he's leave it to Beavers. I mean, that's not an impressive list. That's not an impressive draft list. So we hope that he's got a higher and better percentage this year. but we have to wait and see. What is it? What do we got some here? Mike Lee says, how long before they get rid of the kickoff that started on the 25? They should just do that. They really should. True says, James, incompetent from the top down. Matthew says, I don't see anyone can respect John Mayer. He's clearly not Wellington. He's over his head. He still won 2 Super Bowls, so you can't really say that. Mr. Authentic says, great point, James. What's up, James? Says the T-Brad. T-Brad, we had the chat link in the chat. I don't know where you've been. The Giants are Mara's business as he is the lawyer by trade. He doesn't have the team. He'd be Mara's broke lawyer. Says, what's up, Tim? What's up, James? Let's go. Football's back.
Big O, what up, baby?
Sublight says, if you missed your exit, you have to turn around on the next one. You're Daniel Jones, is it? Listen, you don't want to miss 16W because then you're gonna have to go into New York. You're gonna have to go into New York. And then you're gonna go over the fucking bridge, and it's just going to be crazy. T-Brad says Joe must go. Mr. Albert says, I called it when it happened that Jones' contract would be the anchor, just like
King of the almost sack.
I knew the Giants would be dumb enough to hamstring themselves with the cap again. That's the one thing about the Burns things, to your point, James, that bugs me. The salary cap went up this year. And Joe Schoen was like, woo, to James.
Yeah, he was very excited about that.
Salary cap went up. And what does he do? He spends it all on Brian Burns.
Crazy.
I'm not saying that, and I love it because it's all, and I always talked about it before. One of the things that annoyed me is he is a bad used car salesman. Shane is. It's well, John Runyon Jr. is going to get more money if he goes to the Jets. So if we match it, he's going to come here. Not, hey, listen, sell him on the fact that we're going to be a winning organization, that we're going to be doing this, that we're going to be going up and on this. No, his first thought process was, let's do this. Our hard cap for Drew Lock is $4 million. Here, Drew, here's another $1 million. Here's $5 million. Same thing with the guy from the Raiders. The Arizona Cardinals are doing this. Well, if we match that or give him more money, will he come here? It was all about, you're just throwing money around like it's monopoly money. $1 million here, $1 million there adds up to a player. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it's like value shopping. It's like if you have a certain amount of money and you need to fill your fridge or your pantry with as much as possible, are you gonna go to like the bougie store, like a Whole Foods, and just get a couple things where it's like those are high quality, but you're paying top dollar for that? Or you're just gonna go to a regular shop like a Kroger or Acme or wherever you guys are at, and pick up and do some value shopping and pick up good things and just fill more holes. Like, one thing about, we don't have depth on this team. We haven't had depth for years. And it's like, you just ran through Shane's picks. Again, Shane's going into year 3. You know what's crazy about that? That means he's been here for half of the time that Jones has been here. That's kind of weird when you think about it. Yeah. And it's kind of like, so year 3, think about it in school terms. If you're in year 3 of college or high school, we kind of know what kind of student you are. Like, you can change some things or whatever, but we kind of know what you're about. Going into next year, when you're about to graduate, it's like, what do we have to show for these last years? Like, Joe Schoen's first year here, what blue collar staple player is here that he picked in his first year? You just ran down the list. Most of those guys, I mean, even the Jalen Hyatt pick, everybody's excited for Nabers. I'm a big Slayton guy. He's not the greatest, but he's just a good guy to have on your team to fill, come in. Right. You guys really think Jalen Hyatt is going to have a bigger impact than Darius Slayton? Because I don't. I have seen nothing from Jalen Hyatt that says he's going to be a better receiver for us than Darius Slayton. And all I see from Jalen Hyatt is he's following Nabers around. He's hyping his video. And I get it. He's a young dude. But it's like, we need these guys to start producing. Like, seriously. Like you're talking about, you said earlier, you wipe the slate clean. Like, it's going to be a teardown here soon. We're going to be in the rebuild of the rebuild of the rebuild.
Of the rebuild.
I don't even know what that's called. But we just need to do a teardown, because we have guys here who are not blue collar staple guys. They're just not. We overhype them because we're fans. But what do we really have here? Name me three guys off this team that besides Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence that another team would give up anything to get. And don't say Nabers because he hasn't caught a pass yet. Not even in preseason. Give me three.
I mean, people would probably want Thibodeau because his contract. Well,
potential. He's young.
You have to look at contract value worth potential. Banks.
Right. He's young. Cool. Banks. Okay.
Tommy DeVito.
Oh God. Listen, I like seeing the underdog. You know, I love it. But a lot of this DeVito, people thinking, and Drew Lock looked horrible. He did. He just had a bad showing, much like my man Fields did, which I wasn't happy about. But Drew Lock just had a bad showing. It was like, it's cool. But that's why he's the backup. That's why all this talk about Drew Lock's going to take the number one spot. It's like, no, he's not. And if he does, that's really not a good thing. I love
it because he was 9 for 15 for, I forget, like 80 yards, whatever it is. And he played from going into the first.
He played a lot.
He played a lot. Technically almost played the entire game. And I laughed though, because there was I forget who the pass was to. And it was a nice pass. It wasn't a great pass. It was an NFL pass. And someone on Twitter, I'm not going to say their name. Normally I would, but I don't remember who it was. But they were like, only Tommy DeVito could make that. It was a content creator too. Only Tommy DeVito could make that throw. I was like, it was a nice pass. It was an NFL pass, but is what we would refer to as a average NFL pass that any average NFL quarterback should be able to make. But we hype up this kid so much that it's like we've lost sight that he got benched against the Saints and never saw the field again. You couldn't get ahead of a 47-year-old quarterback in Tyrod Taylor.
Hey, let me just bring this up. Has anybody seen Joe Milton play?
Yeah,
you seen any Joe Milton highlights? That guy looks pretty good. Would we feel better having Drew Lock and DeVito, or just having Joe Milton as our backup?
I felt bad because I saw some Penix and McCarthy highlights.
Even Penix, like I watched some of his, I was like, oh, that was a nice little throws a nice spiral. It was like, okay, he was 9 for 15, nothing mind blowing, but it's like, okay, he looked like he looked comfortable. He looked comfortable. I it's funny. I get worried because we you and I talked about it last week. The quarterbacks that we could be potentially facing on our schedule is gonna be interesting because you are gonna go right into JJ McCarthy. Your first two games are JJ McCarthy and Jaden Daniels. Those are your first two opponents. Then you're gonna have to play against either Russell Wilson and Fields on October 28th. Then you have Jaden Daniels on November 3rd. And then you turn around and it's like, I can't believe, we and then you also potentially could be playing Penix on December 22nd. It's either Penix or the revenge game for Cousins. Either way, it's going to be interesting.
Either way, I laugh because you look at it and you're like, oh my God, we could potentially be playing 5 guys that we could have had in here as starters.
That's like we're going to the school dance and then all these other girls, we could have went with one of them, but we stuck with the girl from the bad Tyler Perry movie, and we keep dragging that old ball and chain out. And then we're going to be at the dance watching all these other guys happy with their new dates. It's like, damn, we're just stuck here with the old ball and chain. It's like, my God.
Blazin says salary cap disproportionate to roster talent sounds about backwards. Rocky says, hey. Swing Culture says Shane didn't want Saquon here. Yeah, that's
no, he didn't. We know.
That's pretty much it. You know what? I laughed. I laughed because of the fact that Saquon Barkley, of course, has been in camp for a while now with the Eagles for 2 weeks almost. And they're Giant fans they're just so trying to make this a Saquon has lost his talent, that I saw people on Twitter that were saying, well, I hear that Saquon Barkley looks terrible in Eagles camp. He looks slow. He doesn't look like the same player. So I took it upon myself, being not that far from Philadelphia, to post some of the articles about Saquon Barkley. And one of my favorite articles was they did the top player in camp right now, and it was Saquon Barkley. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, I know he's gone. I know you're not happy that he's gone, but you let him go, and he went to a rival because they paid him. But then you're going to make up shit about him when everyone says in camp what a great guy he is and what a great consummate teammate he is and how they love having him on there, and how he's showing the most in camp that they've ever seen. Now, they had a guy in Swift last year who was not a very bad running back. This is going to be one of the best running backs they've ever had. Right. I was like, but Giant fans' perception as well, what I'm hearing is he's no good. I'm like, oh my God.
It's very weird that we are pumping up Eric the Gray, and I'm always going to call him Eric the Gray because he's like a DC character to me. I just can't take him seriously. But Eric the Gray had a nice run in a preseason game against some backups, and we're pumping that up. Like, we don't need Saquon, but Eric the Gray has been here for a couple of years already, and that was the biggest play I've ever seen him make. Ever.
Now I do think he can catch the ball out of the backfield. I don't think he's going to have that burst against actual NFL talent in the middle of the line, but I do think he can catch the ball out of the backfield.
I don't know where the Saquon hate, like, some people are like, oh, well, if you're still rooting for Saquon, you're not a Giants fan. And I'm like, oh, so I guess I have a white Vic jersey, so I'm not a Giants fan. That's a very weird take. You know, it's also even weirder for a guy who literally killed himself on the field for us and was just class personified on and off the field. And we didn't treat him right as far as giving him his value and losing him to a division rival. And now we're going to act like, well, you know what I hear a lot too? Is, well, he's going to be hurt by week 4. And it's like, why are you saying that like he's never played a healthy year here before for us? It's very weird. The year we went to the playoffs, won that game, Saquon Barkley was our best offensive player. So why I don't know where the hate comes from. I get it. The guy's in another uniform, and it's in the uniform people hate. But we are hyping up. Oh, I brought this up to you on the phone real quick. Does anybody know who Turbo is? Turbo Miller? My boy was talking about this guy for like a week. I finally got to watch him, and he's fast. He is fast in a straight line. If nobody touches him, if the wind's not blowing too hard, he's fast.
You and I talked about it, and I said, I even told you, if he gets out on the edge, he will be a matchup problem with his speed. But if you touch him, he does get spun around. And I'm not talking like you hit him. I'm not talking like you drop a shoulder on him. I'm just saying you just bump him off his stride. And there is a reason that he played for Dartmouth or Columbia, where the hell he played. So,
it's like we lost Saquon, a blue chip college and pro player, for a turbo motor. We have a turbo motor now. That's what we're excited about. We're excited about nicknames here. We got the Spider. We got Turbo. We got Motor. We got Casper. We got DJ Crimes.
Oh my God!
Who else we got? We got nicknames, man. We're like the Whack Avengers. It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
Wait. What was that? I don't know what time that was. So it's 11:29. I got to type that down. The Whack Avengers. That's gonna have to be I actually gotta text that to myself. That's gonna be a soundbite. The Whack Avenger. The Whack Avenger.
It's amazing. I've never seen a Giants team that had more guys with nicknames, and it's cool to have a nickname. Like, you know, when you're growing up in your neighborhood, you get nicknames. We all, that's cool. That's dope. But some of these nicknames, like I'm like Turbo, Miller, Motor, Singletary, Spider. Like, people are like, oh, he's Spider-Man. He does the cool Spider-Man pose. And I'm like, all right, Can he stop the run?
Can he stop? Yeah. I mean, I like to have a nickname for my quarterback. I like to refer to that quarterback as NFL caliber quarterback, if we could, maybe use that as a nickname.
Did Tom Brady ever have a nickname? Did Peyton Manning ever have a nickname? Did Eli Manning ever have a nickname? Hell, did Kerry Collins ever have a nickname? Like, sometimes the nickname is to hide the fact that you're not that good.
Let's run through a couple of these because I gotta get out of here today. Make sure you hit the like button. I don't know if I want to touch this one. Kevin says, I wish y'all could do a joint live stream with Big Pat Sports. I'm tired of the Homer's point of view.
They would never do it. They would never do it.
Why the hell are you watching Big Pat Sports?
They would never do it. A lot of these guys out there, they would never jump on the screen with this guy because he would bring legit points. And, the way a lot of people make their stuff today is you just want to be popular. You just want to look cool. You just want to say what the crowd wants.
It's funny. I used to like Big Pat Sports, and we used to have a cordial relationship. I just stopped working with him because he was a little weird, and some of his takes and some of his audience was a little weird, and I felt very uncomfortable that a large portion of his audience were like 12-year-old boys. So, and I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it's a little weird to do a live stream, and they pull these kids up, and they're like, and I was very uncomfortable that he was pulling up 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, and 10-year-olds on streams. I'm sorry. I don't, I don't do that.
No, it is weird. It's like, hey kid, go watch something else.
Yeah, it was a little weird for me. Not that I'm saying anything beyond that. It was, and I couldn't do that. I talked to my wife about it, and she's like, when I have a Zach Attack on, at first she was like, well, how old is he? And I told her, like, oh, that's okay. That's okay that he's in college. He looks very
yeah.
So maybe we just look really old. We are football sanity here, Eric. We are football sanity. Mike Lee says, hopefully carbon copies don't take the same game off. I think we've said this before a million times.
That's a good one.
I did a video about it, and we broke it down. I'm not going to break it down anymore. The amount of games that Kayvon Thibodeau and Burns never had either sacks or solo tackles, there were games over the last 2 years that Burns didn't even have a solo tackle, had zero, had a goose egg.
That's really weird in a football game.
And then we look at the last 6.5. We look at the first 2 games of last year for Kayvon in the last 6.5. He only had half a sack. I mean, they are eerily similar in regards to not only their body types and the way they play, but the way they disappear at times. And we've talked about this before. What happens if we lose to Dallas, let's say 17-10, and you got goose eggs on both ends?
You mean like a close game we could have won if our defense maybe just made one play?
If we got one sack or a tackle for a loss, and I keep explaining to people, and I love it because even Shane Bowen said it. Again, they're in the meeting. Hard Knocks. I don't make this up. This was on television. Hard Knocks. He's in the meeting. He's in the meeting room. Shane, what do you need to make your defense better? 2 linebackers. How about Brian Burns?
I'm telling you, it was the weirdest thing. It's like you as somebody asks you, hey, what do you like, man? Oh, I like, man, I like this. And then they just come with something totally left field from what you're describing, and he just keeps like forcing it on his coaches, like this guy is good, man. I just got him. We're gonna pay him $130 million. This guy's good, man.
It's like your wife or your girlfriend goes to, hey, listen, I'm gonna make some cookies. What would you want in them? I want chocolate chips. Oh, so M&Ms. Okay.
It's like, so oatmeal raisin then. Oatmeal raisin. Like,
Mr. Authentic says you all are cooking with cookies.
Authentic salute, sir.
Sorry. Let's see here. By the time Tim gets to the chat, it'll be a half hour later. Yeah, that's always about right.
That's good. That's good.
That's true, though. I'm not gonna lie. No, normally everyone knows we normally run through the chat.
No, you do it. You do a good job, man. You do a good job, man.
I gotta talk to my brother James because it's not like I don't talk to him enough.
I know. I didn't.
That's what I love to people. People are like, "Why do you always say James? Though, don't you talk to him enough?" I'm like, no. I'm sorry.
It's like, no, I still gotta come see him soon in a couple weeks. Like, that's my brother right there.
Besides the fact that he's calling me from a fucking forklift, which is always my favorite.
Oh, I feel bad sometimes. It's like, beep, beep. I'm always like yelling at somebody, like, get the hell out the way.
But that's my favorite part. Because you're yelling at someone, you're like, all I hear is that Pepsi doesn't go there. Get that out of there. And then I love it because I'll be talking to James and like he'll disappear. And then you won't really hear him. You'll hear him like in the background going, this guy doesn't know how to park this truck. I gotta go take care of this.
Yo, I just gotta say salute to all the women truck drivers out there. You're making some of these men look bad. Gotta say.
And the worst part is I know which ones. People feel like they're overhyped. I think we are overhyping. Defensive big swing culture says, "What's up, my brother? This year is a make or break seasons for the regime. You wouldn't budge when it comes to Saquon."
No, he wouldn't.
No,
not at all.
Devito and the Water Boy. Asby says, Fields had a decent attitude. People overhyped the fumble exchange. Warren Sharp really spread the narrative. Do you watch the game? Did you watch the game, James? I watched the game. I'll answer first. I did watch the game. I wasn't concerned about the fumble. I was more of the fumble issues because it's preseason. And this is how you get those kinks out. I was more concerned about the sacks. I was more concerned about the fact that I actually think Fields had a pretty good game, and even Tomlin came out and said he had a good game. But he said he's got to protect the ball, and the center exchange is not, But that's what preseason's for.
Yeah. Real quick, brother, authentic. I didn't watch the whole game in its entirety. A lot of what I saw from Fields was clips, so I will admit that. But I'm a little harsher, probably greater on Fields because Buckeye, Ohio State. And I don't like this narrative that's being put out there. And I know authentic, and you do, Tim, and the rest of you guys, that somehow Fields, who's been in the league less time than Jones, is already like on bus. He's already on bus watch. But Daniel Jones still has potential going forward in year 6. I don't like that narrative that's being put out there. So I'm a little harsher grader. So, he didn't play horribly, but I just wish it was cleaner. That's probably what I should have said earlier.
But now let's get to the last ones because I do have to get out of here. I've been saying that for the last 4 minutes, and James keeps talking to me. Blazing says, "Oh my God, Big Pat is a homer in an extra country." Let me see what we got here. Back row, let's get to him. We need an edge rusher, but $100 million for an 8-sack guy. That's it. And we're going to give, since Mr. Authentic had to have a smart-ass comment, we're going to give him the last comment. Agree with that. Thoughts on That's what happens when you make a smart-ass comment and not getting to the chat. I got to all the chat. James, you got a final thing to close this out because it is a Sunday and I'm going to go out.
Yeah, I'm about to go grab some lunch, brunch. It would be nice to see our new weapon catch a pass. That's all I got. That's really all I got. All these videos about Nabers in the practice and the camp, and he caught 9 balls straight. And then we get in the game, and I'm like, is he on the field? Is he there? And even Carl was like, he's streaking down the field. He's open. But they didn't get to it. It's like, so it would be nice to see our new toy do something. That's all I got.
Even though the safety was over the top on that play.
Oh, they were guarding him. We're not going to show the videos we've shown in videos. I'm going to close it out here by asking James one quick question. We always like to do a rapid fire question. And so James will get his truthful answer. Are you ready, James? You ready?
You ready for the question? You ready for the last question of the day? Favorite Tyler Perry movie?
Oh, The Family That Prays.
Wow, you actually had an answer.
No, that anybody who knows that's probably his best movie. The Family That Prays with who's the girl from Misery? What's her name? The actress from Misery.
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates. She's in that. She's amazing in that. It's got Sanaa Lathan in it. Taraji. That's a good one.
Wow, that's you're pulling it out from like 2008.
No, I actually own that movie. That's how much I actually enjoyed that.
I think it was like 2007, 2008, that movie.
No, it's an older one. It's definitely an older one, but that's a good one, I will say.
All right, so those that do not know, this is Tim's New York Giants Trade Talk, powered by Online Blue LLC. Go watch The Family That Prays by Tyler Perry. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, don't forget to ring that bell. You want to know why? I don't know. Just fucking do it. All right, see you.